What's good, everybody? It's your boy O'Shea Duke Jackson with another episode of the Hall of Game podcast. And this is a live stream show that we try to do at least, I would say, every night, but is more like 3 to 4 times a week. I have put the majority of my time onto this platform, trying to split time with the Brother Pill. But we do this show, obviously, right, because we need it, and we try to bring the talented Black men, African American men from across the country to talk about some of the issues that Black men go through, whether it be dating, whether it be finance, whether it be personal development, overcoming a certain obstacle. But now we're talking about we have brother Wrench and Coach Ali tonight, and we're talking about coaching up the chain, how to deal with the eager new boss who is stifling your routine. We've all been through some type of leadership change in an organization, where it be a head director or something like that. So we've been dealing with that here. It's a great topic with the Hall of Game panel. Go ahead, brother Wrench. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and brother Ali.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? This is Wrench Turner. Glad to be on as always, and eager to share some of my learnings being a leader in manufacturing, specializing in process improvement and growth of the people, my team members. So happy to be here, brother, and glad to contribute.
All right. Thank you so much. But go ahead, brother Ali.
Asani Ali from the D, your men's motivational speaker, blogger, coach, and advocate. Check me out on Coach Ali's Corner over on YouTube. And before we get into this topic, this show specifically is for you, brother. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to ask. This is something that all brothers go through, especially and having a white boss, because most of us didn't have them, and how you could take certain steps in order to, either diffuse, or avoid the situation altogether, where you're not having such a eager boss trying to shove his new system down your throat. So we're just here to help out in any way we can.
All right. And I definitely thank you so much for being here. Brother Wrench, this is an awesome topic. Why are we talking about this today?
Yes, sir. So as I've grown, I've mentioned it before on the show a few times. I have had the unique experience of being in 6 positions in 6 years, going on 7 years now. But basically every year I was getting promoted. A lot of times I talk about the mindset that it takes to pull something like that off in a really big company. I talk about, using your God-given, your natural abilities to kind of harness those and stay 2, 3, 4 steps ahead of everybody. But it comes a time where, you'll see people cycle in and out of the business. Some of them come from more orthodox, more structured type of environments. And they come into an environment like ours where we work in the gray a lot. So being somebody who's used to working in the gray and having someone come into leadership that I have to answer to, there's a really fine dance and a really fine type of technique that you have to use when you have a situation like that. So it's something that I've experienced here recently. And as I kind of navigated this situation, I said, man, this is something that brothers may need to hear. And so I took some pretty good notes to make sure that brothers don't get themselves in a situation where they're reprimanded or lose their job. And also some of the mindset that it takes and some of the skill sets that it takes to navigate that type of environment.
Okay. No problem. Thank you so much. And brother Ali, have you ever been through this particular experience before?
Absolutely. And it's funny because before I finally was able to get out on my own, that was my challenge in the corporate environment, was that I always had either coming onto a new job, and a boss was trying to assert their dominance right from the get-go, or you get a brand new boss after one steps down or retires or transfers or whatever. And so they're immediately trying to put their stamp on that branch. And they're looking for anybody that can to not necessarily run over, but basically gain control of, to send a message to other folks like, I'm running things here. And so I've
Right.
gone back and forth with a lot of people, and I've implemented 3 effective systems how to deal with those type of people, and I'll share those here in a minute.
Okay. Let me go ahead and go back to Brother Wrench. And guys, thank you for being here. Brother Wrench, how are we starting off this show, brother? Drop some knowledge on us.
Yes, sir. So, topic of the show, how to deal with a boss who's stifling your routine. One of the things you have to think about when you come into these situations, in the beginning, of course, and probably for a little while until they kind of settle down, because they're wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. They've been brought into this new environment, and they're going to change the world in 48 hours, right? One of the things you got to think about is, where are you in the pecking order? What I mean is, are you somebody who's in leadership and you have a boss that you're answering to, or are you someone who is new to the business and you run into a situation like that? For the sake of perspective and to make sure that we don't get any brothers lost in the sauce, I'm speaking from a position of leadership, but if we need to hit on the topic of being someone who's new in an environment and you're trying to get acclimated to a new boss or a new supervisor, new manager, whatever the case may be, we can cover that if the brothers want to kind of touch on that. But for myself, when I say, where are you in the pecking order, or are you a leader? Leaders' dealings aren't team member dealings. What I mean is, once you get to a certain level in leadership, things tend to, you're really working the gray. You have to be the ultimate. You have to be the ultimate politician. You're held to a higher standard. You have a lot of eyes on you, and nobody likes a snitch, especially at the leadership level. So there's a certain way that you navigate through this terrain without ruffling any feathers, because a lot of people are watching. So that's kind of what we'll touch on as it relates to the topic. And like I said, if we need to get a little bit deeper and kind of talk about it from the perspective of someone who's new to an environment or someone who's a little bit on the lower rungs, then we can touch on that too if the brothers need.
Okay, no problem. Let's go to Brother Ali.
So, and here's the thing: is that I have 3 simple, effective tools in order to deal with a boss that typically is overbearing. And it starts. You have the aggressive, you have the moderate, and you have the passive approach. So the first one is the aggressive. So if you realize a boss or even a new boss is trying to, basically cramp your style or trying to change the way you do things, is you meet him head on. You're like, yo, I've been here for a minute. My way is effective, and make sure your method of doing things is effective, because you definitely want to be able to back that up with the numbers. But just to show, like, yay, if my method of doing things is working, why are we changing it? Just because you're here. We've had a system before you got here. Why don't we just keep it the way it is? And so that way you're kind of sticking up for yourself without having to be combative. I guess that's the best word I could put it. But at the same time, he knows that if he's going to try to come at you, that you will automatically have something to say back, and that can help you out depending on what kind of person that the boss is. The second modality I would say is the moderate. The moderate person kind of is cordial with the person. Just kind of show your face. So, do small talk. Hey, how you doing? You're being respectful at the least, and you stay out the way until something needs to be addressed, appears. So that way, he's out of your way. He's out of your way. You're out of his way. You're just doing what you need to do until something comes up. Then he will address you. Now, the last way is the passive way, is to avoid your boss at all costs. And that, for a lot of people, that's working under the radar. So for a lot of black men, we tend to have the 2 types. Either the super aggressive, always have a lot of things to say with the boss, or they're very passive. Now, am I judging? Absolutely not, because I would not mind, as long as I'm doing my job and I'm producing the numbers. He has nothing to say to me, then cool. I'll stay under the radar. I have nothing to discuss with you. And if he tends to start pressing, keep yourself busy, and you have to remember something. If it's getting too much to bear, are you going to need this job? Is the job more important, or do you have something that you can catapult to, to show him like, look, I love it here, I love working here, but I don't need the job. And so a lot of times we have to, put our prides to the side, because for a lot of these jobs, brothers make good money. And so, can you handle, a little bit of disrespect just for, so you can go about your business? A lot of times, your boss want to fuck with you because they can. And the second you want to react, you get the write up or disciplinary action. So it's all just a matter of assessing what's important and knowing what kind of boss that you're dealing with, and knowing how can you diffuse the situation as easy as possible without always having to butt heads, every day in the office, and then y'all always going back and forth.
Okay. No. Great point. Shout out to 50 Millie. Appreciate the game bravado. Say love from ATL. Thank you, brother. I really thank you for the support. Thank you, guys. I just want to ask Brother Wrench. So it's been a while since I worked at a job. Since 2014 was the last time, but I do remember getting like a new director, changing teams, managing. I can hop on tonight. Oh, Gabe, I'll send a link. Let me ask you this personally, because you're also a manager, right? You're not just a person that is, so how do you, when you come into a new environment, because I know for me, as trying to manage talent, even on my small, but obviously I'm not doing what you're doing on a bigger scale. But for those brothers who want to be managers coming into a newer situation with new employees, how do you come into a situation to from the other's perspective, right? Because we, a lot of us are being managed, but some of us are looking to manage, right? What's the best approach to go into the situation? Let's say if we have our own business, or when new employees are taking over from somebody else, how do you deal with that?
Oh man, excellent question. So once I was promoted to management, I took on another production line that had a team of about 25 people on it between two shifts. One of the first things I did, and I learned it from watching some of the good leaders that I had worked with as I kind of grew. And the first thing you want to do is you want to just watch. You do your formal introduction. You give people a high level idea of your leadership style, and then from then on you watch. Now everybody is in the beginning. Everybody is gonna kind of move with a purpose, but eventually their habits will start coming out. And you take note, and you don't necessarily hit the ground. You don't be a bull in a china shop. You watch and you see who the dogs are, because a lot of times you'll have people who the team members, they're kind of like the laughing stock of the line, or they're the guy who everyone says, oh, this guy's he's a kiss ass, or he's a know-it-all. He think he's better than everybody. And then you'll have the one who is they're just 100% sure that they're supposed to be the leader, and so they're trying to run things, but they've never been formally trained, or they hadn't been battle tested yet. You have a lot of different personalities. So initially what you want to do is watch, and you want to take notes, and then you want to set aside time to try and at least sit down and have a 10-minute conversation with each one of those individuals and figure out what drives them. Once you figure out what drives them, you let them know, hey, this is what I can do for you. We'll set out a plan for you to get to the next step. At the next step, this is going to be the expectation. So a lot of times when you sit down with individuals like that and you explain to them, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what the expectation is. If you do all of these things from the position that you are now, I'll make sure that we take that next step, and we'll take it as far as you want to take it. So first step, you want to watch. Next step, you want to make sure you take notes, and you want to have those conversations with those individuals, and you'll be surprised. Some of the guys that you see kind of moving slow and really not moving with a purpose, they've had they've been promised things that didn't come to fruition by bosses that may have been in charge well before you got there. So you have to really be fair. Sit down, have a conversation with them. And some of the ones that seem like they're a dog in the beginning, they can do everything. their habits will start to come out too. And you say, damn, they're good at what they do, but they call in every Monday and Friday. So, you know, you have to take that time and take those notes and then sit down and have those conversations.
Okay. Now let me also shout out to Brother D. Anderson, brother and sister, and been through this funny 5 years ago. I got my old boss position. Life is funny. He said he walked his ass out. Let me ask you this, also, brother Wrench, before brother Gabe. So how do you? I kind of pretty much. I think I know what brother Gabe's gonna say, but
you know me.
Let me ask you this, because, like, in our perspective, we're managing people and trying to keep people motivated. Now, how can you stay motivated under somebody's new style? Maybe they're not as thorough as you would be. What's the best way to adjust to some? I guess it's like anything else, right? Like even in football, NCAA people, you know, when a new coach comes onto a team, it's a new offense, new defense, all that new structure. Even in sports, right? It's a whole takeover. How do you try to adjust to that? What's the best way that you try to get into somebody else's plan?
You talking to me or Gabe, brother?
No, you. And then we're gonna go to Brother Gabe.
Oh, so you know, one of the things that and I actually have it down in my notes, is funny. When you have a new hire up, there's a couple of things you have to understand. Number one, he's been vetted. He's been vouched for. His failure is not his failure alone. If he fails, you fail also. And the business that I'm in, it's a what have you done for me lately type of business, right? To answer all of those, to kind of explain it a little bit better, him coming into the environment, in the position that he's in, he's been interviewed by somebody higher up, a little bit higher up the chain. So if he fails, then it looks bad on several people versus it's just looking bad on him. You know what I mean? When I say his failure is not his failure alone, have you been a good enough politician so that you've tried to provide a really neat and clean environment? You provided a really value-added service, meaning that you're really good at what you do. The work that you do makes sense, and the numbers back it up. And when I say it's a what have you done for me lately type of business, if that individual fails, and they start looking at the overall process a little bit closer, you want to be the guy holding the golden egg. In my case, if this guy gets fired tomorrow and they come to me and say, hey, you know, this guy failed, or this guy, you know, he kind of cycled out of the business, we just kind of want to know what happened. What I can say is, well, you know, in 2019, if you look at our numbers, running an additional 300,000 cases and netting the company $28.6 million year to date. At the trend that we're going this year, we're looking at running an additional $500,000 cases, which would produce the company $47.5 million here in the year 2020. The formula that I've used as far as growing the team members, and also the formula that I've used as far as process improvement and reducing downtime and opening up bottlenecks, that formula doesn't change. The people do. So it's a proven formula. It's the way I've been taught, and that's something that I'm fully invested in. I'm not sure what happened with the guy, but I've been in this business a while, and I think I have a pretty good pulse on the way we take care of business. So I have a proven record of making the company money, basically. So, you know, that's one of the things that and that's one of the things we talked about before the show started. You got to be battle tested more than once. You got to be a fucking dog, and you got to be on your shit all the time, every time. Be good at what you do and be able to speak the language.
No, I agree. Shout out to Uncle Tony for the $20 super chat. Tony, I sent you an email, man. I'll check your email. Let's go, because I had some brothers from the giveaway yesterday that I needed to send some stuff out to. Brother Gabe, thank you for coming on to the hall, man. I know you've been busy, brother. Go ahead and drop some knowledge on us.
What's up, everybody? Man, I'm hearing all this, man. Wrench, it sounds good, man. It sounds very good. And yes, I'm sure you are a great manager. But I would like to assert the idea that the individual contributor has way more, I guess, or this, let me say this, the skilled individual contributor has so much more power than the manager. Because I don't know if y'all kind of noticed, but if a manager loses a skilled employee, a a brother like Wrench will have to explain why that person left. So if he loses a good person, a good employee, they have to really give a breakdown of why that person had left. And that really, the success and failure of a manager is them being able to retain talent. Does that make sense? If you guys retain talent and good and are able to continually produce this talent and grow this talent, that looks better for the manager. So my idea and my approach is that I come at it from a position of power, because I'm like, yeah, this is a manager, but there are managers in a lot of different organizations that might have a style of management and leadership that I like more. So my thing is that if this person is coming in and they kind of, they rubbing me wrong, and I'm like, skill up and dip. Yeah, I'm out. And I'm not saying that to say that a manager is bad. That person doesn't even have to be bad. It could just be somebody better or a better organization. So that's kind of where I'm coming at it from.
Let me ask you this, because I think that everybody agrees with you on that. I mean, nobody will disagree with that. But let me ask you, when you say skill up and dip, what do you mean by that? And I want to get Brother Ali's and Wentz Turner's approach on that. What do you mean by when you say skill up and dip, brother?
So then skilling up and dipping is something that, so let me give you an example of that, right? Probably one of my favorite digital tools or websites is LinkedIn. LinkedIn, people are posting new job opportunities on the daily. Great organizations, from the greatest organization to the worst organization, somebody's posting a job posting on there. So skilling up is you evaluating what's valuable to your current market, getting those skills or getting those certifications or getting those degrees, and leaving when you find a better opportunity. That's my skill up and dip thing. Because a lot of times, I don't know, there was an article that came out years ago. It's called "People Don't Leave Organizations, They Leave Managers." They leave their direct or managers or supervisors. They leave the person that they directly report to. And I've experienced this on multiple occasions. So skilling up and dip means really looking at the job market, looking at what's valuable to the job market, and going where you desire to be, rather than staying in a situation under a supervisor or manager who is pretty much rubbing you wrong on a continuous basis.
Okay. Let me get Brother Ali, and let me shout out to the super chat. Thank you, brothers, for the support. I see Brother the Rarest Diamond, or that might be a lady, but answer: set goals, work towards them, save up funds, and start a way to make more income while you also work a job. Okay, that's also a good another point. After you reach your goals and you're able to be self-sufficient, you can leave. Okay, that's a very similar point to you. Brother DeAndre, thank you for Kershaw for the super chat. My brother, Mr. Grandeur, I'm dipping out. I have no loyalty for a job. Evan DiBiase, great content, y'all. Thank you, brother Evan. Caleb, thank you for the 99 super chat. That boy fly. Look at it. Whoa, that boy, he good. All right. Let's go ahead on Brother Ali. What's your take on this?
And you know what? Actually, Gabe made a great point and regarding finding what's out there in the market, and he's right. A lot of people leave the management. It's not necessarily the job. Especially if you have a smaller company where you can't change departments or change, the building that you work on. So a lot of people kind of feel trapped. It's like, I can't go anywhere. I'm stuck with this manager. And so is it worth it for me to duke it out with this person on the daily just to keep this job? And we talked about this before, O'Shea, on one of the former Hall of Games. And what I will say is the one of the most important things is, especially if you're looking for a new position or looking for employment at a new company, is to go out and go to those job fairs, go to those meetings, go to and any opportunity where you can get in front of a hiring manager and put a name to a face. A lot of times you don't even have to have the skill. They like you enough, or they see something in you where they're like, if you just come on, we'll teach you what you need to know, but I like your character. And a lot of times we, don't take those opportunities because, a lot of times we get emotional. We're taking personal vendettas against the person at the job. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to find a way to, one up them the next day when it's like, I'm a valued worker. there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of things going on in the area where you can my favorite thing, and I don't know if y'all in the Zodiacs, but I'm Libra. So if you rub me the wrong way, I don't have to fight you. I disappear. And I've ghosted on a lot. I've ghosted on a lot of jobs where people have treated me like absolute shit. And when I got that new job, I didn't even bother put in the 2 weeks. I didn't even bother, doing whatever, because I knew I wasn't gonna get a good reference or a recommendation anyway. So I'll just leave.
Yeah,
I would leave and make them feel the effects of what they're missing out on, in my absence. And so, a lot of times you just got to put yourself into the face of a lot of other people. You know what I mean? For the brothers that know, I used to work in the mortgage industry, and people move jobs in the mortgage industry all the time. Other companies are like, you're efficient. How much are you getting paid, at this company? You know what? We pay 10 grand more if you come over here. We like your character. We like what you do. And I've had several job opportunities, just based on my character. And, and they would say, hey, I like, you would make a good fit at this position because, you're on the phone with, managers and brokers and all that kind of stuff all the time. So long story short, when you find that there's an opportunity to leave a position, find out who that hiring manager is for the job that you do want, so you can avoid the merry-go-round. That's what the best way I can say it. You can avoid the merry-go-round of, put in the application, making sure they received it. When's the interview process? When you start talking to people directly and they like you for who you are, a lot of times you'll get the job without on the spot, without an interview, without a screening, without anything, because they like you for you. And that old job will feel it once you leave.
Now, I do want to cut in too and say this, because I don't want to only argue from my side as the individual contributor, but I do want to argue for Wrench's side too, because even though we leave, right, Brother Hassani, and go to a better opportunity, we better have a story ready for why we left.
Yes.
Why did we?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. Say that.
Why did we leave?
Definitely.
So Wrench,
They're gonna definitely ask you.
They're gonna ask you, because we can't leave Wrench's organization without talking about what our experience was with Rich. Because you know why we need a story? They're gonna get a story from Wrench anyway. They're gonna call him as a reference, because you got a lot of times put your supervisor or your manager as a reference on your next job application. So that manager has to answer for why you left, but at the next opportunity, you have to answer for why you left that organization, because a lot of times organizations aren't looking to bring on loose cannons or in employers who just up and leave over anything, because they're looking to retain talent rather than just getting people and just throwing them out and bringing them in and throwing them out. So I do think we have a responsibility to also have that story ready, just like Wrench does.
Absolutely. Just to touch on it, you brothers made some excellent points, and they're spot on. One of the things that if you guys remember, I said I've been in 6 positions in 6 years, right? So my progression of leadership was in a couple of different areas. My leadership style is what I call Leonidas. Leonidas. So through my experience, I've been a mechanic before. So I give you a prime example. So I had a mechanic leave the business a couple of weeks ago. So instead of coming in my typical polo shirt tucked in, Levi's jeans and composite toe ostrich boots, I come in jeans, hat turned backwards, a blue collared shirt, and my tool bag. And everybody's kind of like, oh, let's see if he still got it. And then when you can get out on the floor and make it happen like that goes a long way. So for me, my situation is a little bit different from a lot of other leaders, in the sense of I've been in the business for a while in a lot of different roles. Another thing too that I actually have in my notes is the relationships that you've built while in the business. So and I talked about it in another show also, me being a manager now, the guy who interviewed me, the regional VP of manufacturing, who has an office in every plant that he goes to, right? I'm one of his handpicked just because of the body of work that I have. So if I fail, if not my failure alone, right? So that's a piece about being a politician. You want to have an impressive body of work, and not only that, you want to have a history of growing individuals. So for me, I fired a mechanic when I first got into leadership, and I basically did 2 roles for a full year before I brought in another mechanic.
Wow.
By the time I brought in another mechanic, I turned the line green, was kicking ass on both ends. So basically doing the maintenance work, putting together the reports, sending it out to leadership before they would ask, growing people on the back end, sitting in the meetings and running the meetings, and did that for a full year. Now, granted, and I always say it, that's my God-given aptitude. So it wasn't as hard as it may be for somebody who may be doing it just for the money, or somebody who may not have the same type of outlook as I have on what I do. But having that type of background, having the numbers to support it, and then also being somebody who, when I had the opportunity to really chop somebody down, kind of pulling back and saying, "Hey, well, let's try this," and giving people opportunities, and really sitting down and taking into account that you are dealing with people, you are dealing with a lot of different personalities, but at the same time, a lot of time leadership knows what's going on, and they want to see if you have the sharp enough claws to get people out of the business too. So being able to navigate all of those different circumstances and being able to do it efficiently for a sustained period of time, that goes a long way, because in my situation with a new director, they know that he has a strong individual who builds team members. Like I have a team member who almost the path that I've taken. Every year he's getting promoted. Matter of fact, he just recently got promoted. And not just one. I can count on both hands how many people I've grown throughout the business, not even just in my department. So that's the environment that the business wishes to build, and those who can do that are the ones that they really try to hold on to. So when you talk about retaining talent, you also want to retain good leadership talent, because they are the frontline leaders that are dealing with the supervisors that you're growing in the business. They're dealing with your group leaders that you're growing in the business. They are dealing with the guy who comes in as a machine operator 1, and in 5 years they want to see this guy running his own small team. So there's a couple different ways to come at it. My situation is a little bit different, because if I fire a mechanic, all I have to do is let the director know, hey, for the first half of the day, I'll be out on the floor busting wrenches, and I'll come back and follow up. I need you to run interference as much as you can. So my situation is a little bit different from the typical. And not only that, I'm the only manager in the building with that particular skill set.
Let me read this. Brother Caleb also says, I just recently got the fast food after 5 years and being a manager for 2 years, and I myself dealt with poor attitudes that I dealt with. Let me just be honest. Most guys, like even me, I had my times of being a really good employee, and then I had my times of being a bad employee and not so good of them, or just moderate, depending on my motivation at the time. And my work was inconsistent. It's only been really since I've been out of the workforce that I can say consistently that, I perform better for myself. But I can rank as high as the top 15%, and I can be as bottom as the bottom 30%. When I'm the bottom 30%, I'm not going to say anything. I think what happens a lot of times in management, as far as when guys complain about, and the thing about it, you could be right. When you're a person that's not a good employee, you can't say anything. Like, I just want to let you guys know that. I mean, unless it's like, sexual harassment, or I think that's an important thing. Like a lot of guys, you have a new boss and you might be right about everything, but brothers got to really be honest. If your KPIs are not that good, you taking 30-minute breaks, you know what I'm saying? Your performance is up and down. Well, that probably shows you don't really want to be there anyway. So you're the person that they're trying to manage or get out of the business in the first place. All right. Bad employees mess it up for good ones. All right. So typically, unfortunately, they can't change everything. Even when like I said, you have a new coach on the Carolina Panthers. His system is going to change for everybody. Just how it works. So I think guys need to really, really understand that. And I will say this: when we had to have change, in an organization, you know, like especially in call center environments, manufacturing environments, those are common where changes happen all the time. I try to, I mean, because unless you have a better choice, you know, sometimes I try to understand where is this person coming from? Like, why do you want me to do it this way?
Mm-hmm.
And shit, I mean, you know, unless you're a high performer like Gabe or, you know, like Wrench, I'm middle of the pack, so I don't really have much of a goddamn choice. So you need to understand that, right? If you're not a person that's top play, nigga, you better try to figure out how to do it and why, you know? Now, until you get a whole bunch of complaints from other people and stuff like that, then you can go ahead and sneak yours in also after. But, you know, I will say this. Change, a lot of different systems work. You know, even on social media content. Like when we get mentored, there's things that you don't want to do. Like right now, if I was to get mentored by one of the better people like Brian G. Johnson, Nick Nimmin, there's some things they will tell me that I wouldn't want to change. And they know what they're talking about, right? But the thing about it is that even people that might not like how you do things, and I mean, it might be different when I'm talking about like something like manufacturing, because, you know, obviously things that, you know how it works. If you're not that confident in the guy, you probably should try it. All right. I'm talking about all you middle of the pack niggas out there. That's most of y'all are like that, right? We very few high performing employees. So let me just say this. Brother Josh Quick says there are some growing numbers of brothers in the IT field. Thank you, Brother Josh. And I'll just gotta go back. Anybody else want to weigh in on whatever they wanted to say?
Actually, go ahead,
brother. Rock,
go ahead.
rock, paper, scissors. Go ahead. You got it first.
Okay, I'll be real quick. O'Shea, you hit on something, and I'm gonna tell a quick story because stories always seem to drive the point. O'Shea, when it comes to employees, I was that guy on the football field. After we just had our big bowl win, Antonio Brown went to the Steelers. We got a new coach from over at Michigan State, the quarterback coach. He sat me down and was like, Ali, I like you. You know, you got a good work ethic. But you know, you're going to be competing for that fullback spot with a scholarship guy that's coming in. And basically, he was telling me that, you know, you basically gonna have to re-earn your spot. And after I heard that, I stopped putting in the work. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was middle of the pack, last ones on my sprints. You know, wasn't the first one in line in drills, all the things I did to earn that spot in the first place. But, you know, a coach told me something that I didn't like. And so my work ethic went to shit. And I eventually, after we had a few differences, I ended up quitting. And a boy of mine, he was on the defensive line, and he told him the same exact thing, but he ended up playing. Because he was like, you know what? I'm not going to let this new coaching staff stop me from playing. I'm still going to get in these drills. I'm still going to, you know, be the first one in the sprints. He ended up making a start when we played Michigan State, ironically. And it was a bitter lesson I had to learn. But at the same time, it was like you earned your playing time doing the hustle and bustle, doing the little things on the field, the stuff that people wouldn't do. And because someone was threatening to take your spot, you flat out gave in. And so that you definitely hit a point on a nail on the head on that one, O'Shea.
Go ahead, Brother Gabe.
Yeah, I think a little bit of a conversation that's developing in the chat. We're kind of talking about even before you get to the point where you desire to leave, is really get to the whole idea of conflict resolution, right? You see that you're having an issue with your manager, your supervisor, whatever leadership that you're having, or even with other employees, right? I think it's very important in your story for when you go to your next place is to really make an effort to resolve whatever that conflict was. Because one of your first questions is, hey, during the interview is, hey, when has there been a time where you've experienced an issue in a workplace and how did you resolve it? I mean, by you taking the effort to look to resolve that in your current role, that will help to give you an answer for that question. Yeah, SW1 was speaking about that in the chat, and some of the other brothers too. But yeah, it's really important to not just give up, but rather to come to some type of resolution or try, right? You can try to come to some type of resolution. It don't always work, right? And it's not a problem if it doesn't work. The problem is if you don't try and if you don't have that story for why you left. So yeah.
Okay. No. Brother Wrench, you want to weigh in on that, brother?
Yeah. So Gabe is 100% correct. If you guys recall, one of the things I always talk about is staying 3-4 steps ahead. Also, right? And you hit on it too, O'Shea, when you said you have to be leading the pack to be able to push back, and it actually means something. Mm-hmm. So in my case, I kept getting a response that's typical in leadership, where they want to get right to the resolution. Now I have a history of doing that too. All right, yeah, we know it's a problem. Somebody dropped the ball. What are we going to do to fix it?
Are you breaking up?
I think the brother's breaking up. Yeah,
white man holding them back, brother.
Yeah, I'm not hearing nothing.
Brother Wrench, you there?
Nah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Yep, there he is.
Stand 3 or 4 steps ahead. In my case, I made a call that we ultimately end up doing something different on, and that came from a little bit further up the chain. And then the second go around, I made the call. We ended up doing something a little bit different on, came further from up the chain. So the next go around, I was already on 10, right? But not outwardly screaming and hollering or anything like that, but very calmly and very cordially, I made my point, had the numbers to back it up. And I said, hey, we've had 2 previous times where I've made a call and we did something different and it didn't work. Now it seems like we are doing the same thing. And I'm still having to push back to get what I'm telling you I know will work. And even though that conversation didn't make the change, what happened is I've built enough of a resume to where someone else in leadership with the same amount of stick power came directly to me and said, hey, what exactly do you need? Circumvented the new director and got me exactly what I asked to happen in the first place. Mm-hmm. So that's why I say your body of work has to be extremely impressive, because once you get to a wall, you have to have people on the other side of that wall to say, wait, hold up, something's not right. And that's where the politics come into play. What happened after that is the new director comes back and he says, hey, I know you're really good at what you do. I know, you weren't just put in this role, because you, for any other reason than you're really good at what you do. I've seen some of the things you've done. I've talked to the team members. Not only that, you're talking about guys who we've taken who you see a physical change in them. And I'm talking about guys who were on the lower rung, coming from working warehouse jobs and wearing t-shirts with big collars on them to dressing like supervisors, and stepping into leadership roles. And all of these people have come through this channel that I've kind of built. So the business sees that, the new director sees that, other leaders have seen that, and my company also knows that I'll be extremely valuable to our competitor that's right up the street also, because managers are super hard to find. So
right.
That's why I say you have to have not just a good body of work, not just a cute body of work. You have to have an impressive body of work. Not only that, you have to have this. You have to know, even when you're in a position to really smash the gas on somebody, you don't always do it because it's not a good look. So you have to have shown that even when you can make someone look bad from a professional standpoint, you don't pull the trigger on it. Or even when you have an opportunity to terminate somebody, you don't always do it. You sit that person down, and then they see a change in them, and all of a sudden they're a changed man or woman. You know what I mean? Those are the things that, when I say you have to have an impressive body of work, not only as it relates to manufacturing and getting cases out the door or your throughput, but you have to have an impressive body of work as a person and as it relates to the people in the building. You have to be able to have built relationships cross-functionally with the warehouse, with transportation. And I give you another example where I could have sat in a meeting and really just trashed transportation for not bringing in enough sucrose or for not bringing in enough raw materials. I'll move my designated preventative maintenance time up in the week to preserve our efficiency and be able to go down while they replenish the sugar tanks and we do some maintenance on the line. So helping out another department and looking out for the overall efficiency of the plant, because I own a small part of the overall goal. So those kind of things you have to have a proven history of doing, so that when you do push back, people automatically know, okay, well, this has to be valid. This is a guy who's went above and beyond to make sure everybody looks good. So that's also an important understanding to have when you're in leadership.
All right, let me go. Go ahead, brother. Keep it taking. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Salute, O'Shea, Gabe, A, Coach Ali, and Brother Wrench. Who's next? Anybody? Great points, Brother Wrench.
Yeah, I did have a point to bring up because I think that it's some work that the manager has to do in that particular leadership style for the individual contributor, where a lot of us are, right? But I think that we have some homework to do about ourselves and the styles of leadership and the styles of work culture that we desire. And I think a lot of times what organizations do, and that you can even do in your own time, you can do like a personality assessment. Right? Mm-hmm. What is your working style and your personality? A lot of times people kind of drift towards that, what you call the Myers-Briggs. Have you ever heard of that one before?
Yeah,
the
Myers-Briggs question.
Right. So it gives you like 4 different letters and these kind of like you answer questions that give you a better idea, or in a certain way, you answer the questions in a certain way that gives whatever test algorithm a better understanding of what category to kind of put you in. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that is very probably even proactive to do, is to go into your direct manager, your supervisor, whoever you report to, and say, "Hey, I took a personality assessment, and these are the results, and I heavily lean towards these results. So as it concerns my working style, I think that these are some things that I do well, and these are some things that I want to work on. And that, hey, let's look at my development plan. The things that I want to work on can kind of brush up against my personality style. It can kind of cause me to be uncomfortable or can be difficult for me. I want to increase those areas in my working style and here at work. Let's talk about some goals or some actions or some things that I can do in order to move myself in that direction. So I see where I'm at. This is a personality assessment where I can see that really highly describes me, but I want to challenge myself to move in a higher and different direction. So I think that that's something that we can do, taking these personality assessments.
Oh, great.
I agree. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Ali.
No, go ahead. Anybody.
So Gabe is spot on again. Mm-hmm. So we do those personality tests. We do those personality tests at work. Across the plant, and then you'll have what they call an INTJ or whatever they come out, whatever spectrum they come out on those personality tests. Another thing too, and I've had to break it down to team members. A lot of times, if they don't see you on the floor, they assume that you kicked up in the office and you got, and you watching Boys in the Hood. You got the AC going and everything is all gravy, right? So one of the things I've done is in front of the whole group, between both of my production lines, I've got everybody together, and I said, how many individuals would like leadership to be on the floor more? I said, that's not a right answer, that's not a wrong answer, but how many of you would like leadership to be on the floor more? So a couple of people, raised their hand and kind of like they looked around, see who would raise their hands first, and then a couple of people's hands went up. I said, oh, okay. So for those of you who are utilities, can you raise your hand? And a utility is basically someone who can operate every piece of equipment on the line. They are entry level into. They're starting to get a little taste of what leadership looks like. And so the utilities raised their hands and said, all right, well, keep your hands up. And this is not to embarrass anybody, or this is not to put anybody on the spot. This is a learning lesson. And then I said, all right, so all of my group leaders, put your hands up. The group leaders put their hands up. I said, my supervisors, put your hands up. Supervisors put their hands up. And I put my hand up. I said, okay, so tomorrow, if I come out to the floor, I asked my supervisors, I said, which one of you guys know how to put together an A3 or a corrective action plan? They kind of laughed a little bit. I was like, no, keep your hands up. How many know how to put together a corrective action plan? You can go and pull the data. You can look at our top down time. You can do your 5 whys. You can do your fishbone, and you can put all those actions down to figure out what we're going to do to get this get this particular piece of equipment under control next month. The hands went down. I said, okay. He said, group leads, keep your hands up. I said, how many of you guys can put together a corrective action plan? And they kind of put their hands down. I said, all right, leads, how many of you guys can, how many of you guys can put together an Excel spreadsheet? You don't even have to do it. You don't have to do a corrective action plan, but you can put together an Excel spreadsheet. You can do some data validation. You can go in and put down some drop down menus. You can do some VLOOKUPs. All of them kind of looked and kind of dropped their hands. I was like, all right, so utilities. How many of you guys can stay on top of, what flavors we're running, not the very next flavor, but 2 or 3 flavors ahead? You can go into SAP, you can put in a transaction code and see where our trucks are, how many bottles we got. You can cross-reference that with the schedule and kind of get a good idea of where we're going to land at the end of this shift and what the startup of the next shift is going to look like. And then the hands kind of went down. I said, well, no hands are up, huh? Everybody kind of laughed. I said, so as I train my supervisors to do those things, they'll delegate certain actions down to those who want to step up. As you guys learn those skills, it's getting you the skills to step into leadership in the future. As you step into leadership in the future, you should be training the next one behind you. Mm-hmm. The point that I was trying to get at is to let them know that, hey, I am training our leaders to be able to train you guys to step up into leadership. If we start delegating those tasks right now, you will hate your job because you hadn't been taught how to handle that much stuff at once. So that's the piece that I really try to explain to my team members on a grand scale so that no one feels singled out. But they just have to know, as the saying goes, shit rolls downhill. But I can't push so much stuff downhill to where everybody is kind of lost in the sauce and then we don't get anything done. So sometimes you just have to kind of get everybody out and explain it to them because they don't understand what happens behind the scenes. They don't understand all the work that happens behind the scenes. All of the individuals that I've grown into leadership, before anybody else started doing it, I would bring them to meetings that are supposed to be management only or supposed to be plant leadership only. And I would bring them in to be a fly on the wall just to watch how many different moving pieces it takes to build a production schedule for a week. And when we come out of the meeting, they're like, shit, man, I wouldn't want your job. I'm like, no, there's a method to it. I'll show you how to do it. And that's how I've grown people into leadership, or I've grown people into being able to make more money and being able to take care of their families and being able to, accomplish things that they didn't even have the confidence to accomplish. So that's why I always say in the beginning of the show, I specialize in process improvement and people growth, because that's one of the most important things that I do. Not only is it one of the most important things that I do, I'm working with brothers a lot of times who really need to get a peek behind the curtain to see what's going on. So just wanted to touch on that point.
Let me shout out Brother CM Training. Very positive. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you, Brother Caleb Douglas. I always make sure I was on the floor as much as possible and helping out. Thank you, Brother Caleb. And Mr. Grandeur, I made my mechanic from my shop to prove this point. He's in the Atlanta area. Long-time moderator, one of the longest ones, right? Shout out to Mr. Grandeur. Go ahead, Brother Ali, or whoever else.
I got a question for you, O'Shea, after Brother Hassani. You're gonna turn on
I'll make a real quick point because honestly, I will actually have my notes out and writing down all this game that's being bestowed upon us here. But and it's funny how you can tell who makes great leaders, because a lot of times, and this is actually related back to the topic, is that like we were saying before, a lot of times we as brothers we get offended or we get all of our emotions when a person in leadership kind of wants to change our style or change our process, or they're always on our heads. And sometimes it could honestly be because they want you to do better and be better. And that's why it's really important to analyze the situation and see, why is this person pushing me? Why is this person always on my head? Why is he always asking me the why behind what I'm doing? Just let me do what I'm doing and let me be me. But sometimes that leader is pushing you because they know if they're to go up into the next position, they may be able to bring you to that leadership spot because they trained you in it, whether directly or indirectly. So again, these brothers are making a lot of excellent points. I've only been a manager for like 6 months, so I don't have that much experience in it. Being a public relations person at a casino, but at the same time, one thing I do understand when in that type of leadership is that the best way to get people to get behind you is to let them know that you're working with them, and whether that's being on the floor, participating in all the events, getting to know these people, building rapport. When these people understand that you're not just their leader, but you're working as a team unit, these people go to bat for you. You could pull that person aside, like, hey, I need 3 hours overtime. Can you help me out? Hey, I need you to come work on Saturday. Can you help me out? Because they know if you treat them well, they'll do whatever for you. And so, long story short, relating to the topic, a lot of times your leadership, people in those leadership positions are pushing you. So don't always take offense to it. Realize why they're doing it, and if it's for the wrong reasons, that's when you would address it. And then we'll go back to Gabe.
All right, let me shout out to Brother Bougie Talk. Shout out to O'Shea for the skits and embracing my home Uganda. Thanks for the great work. Let's all work towards being a boss in some way or fashion. Shout out to the Team Strugglewood out there.
Fire
team Strugglewood.
Fire.
What's going on, Brother Gabe? You have a question?
I got a question for you, O'Shea, because in so many different circumstances, especially within the social media sphere, on YouTube and on Facebook, and even there over in Uganda, you have been in the leadership roles within the different projects and things that you have done. Have you noticed, because I don't think that this goes enough, I don't think leaders are asked this enough. Have you, and this is also for Wrench afterwards too, have you all noticed as managers and leaders, has anybody ever communicated to you all a certain thing that you did as a leader that they didn't like or they wanted you to change? And then if they did, have you guys found it in yourselves to adjust? Or like, how have you dealt with, I guess, feedback from the people that report to you as leaders and managers and supervisors? Is there adjustment from the top that ever happens? Or is it typically just that adjustment to the individual contributors?
Let me let Brother Wrench go, and then I'll go, because his skill is larger than mine. But let him answer, and I'll answer it in my own small way. So let the people who are more knowledgeable talk about it first. Go ahead, Brother Wrench.
Oh yeah, of course. So that's part of being a leader also, is being able to take feedback and not take it personal. And I'll give you an example. I put together a meeting every week where I meet with my maintenance guys and we talk about maintenance opportunities on the line, put together action lists, knock those actions out, and then follow up the next week or during the week if it's something that's super important. On one meeting, I had parts on the rack that were meant for a rebuild that was supposed to happen on a piece of equipment. The case count was super heavy, and I scheduled a day for that rebuild to take place. When I saw those parts on the rack, I wrote it down in my notebook and I said, I'm gonna cover this with the maintenance guys and see what is the gap. Why do I still have brand new parts on the machine when we planned a day to get it squared away? Now in the meeting, and I wasn't combative, wasn't screaming and hollering, but I was very stern in what I was saying, in the sense of, hey, we have parts on the rack back here. We planned a time to get it squared away. Why is it not squared away? And not only that, more importantly, when is the next opportunity that we can get this done, and then kind of follow up on how we keep this from happening again. And one of the mechanics kind of said, hey, on that day, we had one guy that was out on vacation. We completed a full rebuild on one identical piece of equipment, but the other one, I know you guys are watching the labor hours. We didn't get to that one. So my response was, okay, I can follow my sword and say, all right, whenever I'm wrong, that doesn't bother me, and I would hope everybody else could do the same thing. I said, so what we'll do by the time our next maintenance meeting come up, we'll plan to do that work. I'll work with our planning team to make sure we have that time to get it squared away. What I would ask is just verify that we have everything that we need. After the meeting, the mechanic came back and said, hey, I felt like you were just singling me out. I felt like, I felt, kind of, I ain't gonna say embarrassed, but I was kind of put on the spot in front of everybody. I said, and if you notice, so I listened, and that's another thing as a leader I do. A lot of times I'll listen without interrupting, and I'll let them get out everything they want to get out. And I told him, I said, if you noticed, I raised my hand up and say, all right, well, I was wrong on that one. What I would ask you though, sir, is to, if we don't get something done, articulate that back to me so that we can plan and get it knocked out. We don't need to leave new parts on the racks. We don't need to have open work orders, because those are reports that get run every week. So there's a fine balance. You have to be able to take criticism, and you have to be able to take criticism and not take it personal. You have to be even keeled. So you can't be somebody who jumps down everybody's throat every day, and then the minute somebody says that they don't like something about what you did, what you've done, you jump down their throat again. That's absolutely horrible leadership. Good leadership actually is empowering your people, figuring out the style that they work in, and then adding on to that. So I've been in situations like that where, you know, somebody will come and they'll say, well, you know, you did it this way, and you know what I'm used to seeing, or our previous boss did it this way, and then I'll explain to them, you know, hey, I'm putting all this stuff on your plate because I see the potential in you to take these next steps. Now, if you desire to, and a lot of times I'll say it jokingly, I'll say in front of everybody, I'll tell them, hey, if you just doing this for a paycheck and you don't want to take it any further, please be honest with me. I won't take it personal. I'll just make sure that I give you the tools you need to be efficient at this one particular thing that you want to do. If you had a desire to be a clown ever since you were 6 years old, and you're only working here to fund clown school when you get your income tax, let me know that too, so that I can make sure you get all of your gains and we can get you into clown school, and we'll have somebody trained up to step into your spot. And the next time I see you, it may be at the state fair, and you'll have big red shoes on, a red nose, white face paint, and a red wig. You understand? So those are I have that kind of working relationship with the people on my team, and they can respect it because I've given them a choice. If you want to take a step up, you know that you have the opportunity to do that. If you want to be solid where you are and you want to be serviceable, you want to be Martellus Bennett on the Dallas Cowboys, we can do that too. But damn it, when I throw you the ball, you got to catch it every time. But what you can't do is regress. You can't fall backwards, because given the economy, there are people out there who, due to COVID-19, they're looking for jobs. And I'm running interference. I'm running interference and trying to get my people trained up so that none of you guys fall victim to somebody who may have a deeper skill set than you, and that's not your fault. So I'll lead us to the promised land. I'll lead from the front, and I'll go to bat for us every time we need to, every time I need to. But I just want to make the expectations clear. And anytime I do something wrong, feel more than welcome to call me on it. And it may be something that I have to explain a little bit more in depth.
Oh, that's gonna be hard to. I should have went first, but like I said, he's on another level with what he's trying to do, right? And for me, I'm dealing with people towards from the creative mindset. So don't get me wrong. Like, see, before I came to Uganda, I did have people like that would edit videos for me here and there, like people like Dima. But then running like an in-person studio with and then being in a country that you don't really know as well, like Uganda, and how things work here and the culture of the people. And a lot of times you could take for disrespect for what people just, they're normally not, they don't think like you, obviously, right? Two things. Number one is I find value in now explaining why we're doing something. Before, I was just like, well, we're going to do this. And then people were lost. And then I would get upset why they were lost. And I'm thinking about like, okay, well, the reason why these assignments are blown for Kinganda or for something like, it's because they don't know why we're doing it. So that's my fault. The reason why we're doing this is because X, Y, Z. This is why we're doing this. So explaining the social media business from my perspective to, from the editing, because with social media content production is somewhat like manufacturing, right? It's a product. So, you're sending it to the Adobe Premiere and all of this. And so I have to explain, this is the reason why I think that this particular concept will work and why we should do it this way, why we should get everybody to buy into this. Because, none of the people here that's doing Kinganda are doing, and just did YouTube before, like him, the comic, he wasn't a YouTuber, so you have to explain why and then explain where you want to go with it, right? And then you'll also find out is that I'm not delegating enough to other people. That's one thing because it was my project, it's my ideas, and people say, hey, listen, you need to depend on us more to do X, Y, and Z. And it let me know, like, you know what, I need to back off a little of the creative element. So, like, let's say, for example, if you guys saw the last struggle with production, it was kind of my idea overall, but the idea of the phone call in the beginning and stuff, that was Satati, who edited the video. So Dima edits some videos, but he doesn't edit anything with struggle with. That's actually Kim the Comic, our Dima editor. So it allows me to let them create a system that makes it better. So me pulling myself off, like I had too much control over everything, which made things work worse. And that's one thing as a manager and an entrepreneur. Too much on the gas is always where you're gonna wreck, right? And then you have to trust people to do what they do best. And I don't know. I'm not a video editor. I didn't go to school for video production. They did, right? So when it comes to things like that, I have no idea. In the case of Wrench, where he's managing, he knows probably whatever he's doing. He probably knows how to do that job to the T. He could do that job. Me, when you talk about creativity and Adobe Premiere and Adobe Cloud and like what's the best rendering machine, and shout out to my man Ben Yashar because he has a 3950X processor that I'm trying to get. When it comes to this for a new build and stuff, I don't know anything about it. I'm new. So the manager pretty much becomes an employee. Like it switches, I switch roles all the time, right? Like they're telling me what to do. And that's fine, right? I think those two things are explaining to people as a manager why this is important, explaining why you want to do this, take it in this direction, and then also at the same time, as to why you verify they understand, and then also when people want to do more, they want to help out more in the business, because a lot of times as managers we can keep people out of the business by not training them, understanding them. Like today, we had a whole session on thumbnails and titles, like why that's important. And so now, when they know if we go shoot a struggle wood, then obviously we need to have a really good photo, a funny photo, or something like that, so we can go to Photoshop and all that to put it up. So those are the two main things. Also, number three, I was a little bit more combative initially at first because I had a lack of patience, right? Because I know how social media business works and how it's monetized, but they don't. So, the culture of, people wouldn't be on time. A project, we miss a day or whatever. And, I've had to get rid of some people, but it's just those things. And if they tell me something needs to be, worked on, I should mess this person out. I'll listen to them, right? Because they know this area. I don't know this area. And you know what? It's worked out fine. I took this whole team that knew nothing about YouTube. And I mean, look what we're doing now, right? Like 2018 in December, I came and pitched this idea to these people, and now look where we're at. We can produce. Wow. I mean, we can produce the movie series now. We can produce everything. There's nothing we can't do. So it's just learning and also knowing that I was a little bit combative, a little rude at times. That what's respectful in America. Talking real tough to people and stuff is like motivational talk in America. That really don't work here. So, you got to understand every individual person, how they respond to being motivated. Some people don't need to be yelled at. Some people just need to be talked to or whatever. So,
see, I think that's like the importance of why, I mean, everybody's like, oh, why do we need more Black leaders and leadership positions? I mean, that's exactly why, right? Because, Shay, as you went over there, you had to learn the culture. You had to learn the people, right? If you have leaders who are so disconnected from the culture of the people that work for them, you're going to have a disconnect, a difficulty in really coming to a positive and quality end product, or you just won't even understand where the people are coming from and what is causing some issues in the process. So right. I think that's like your experience is extremely, like, it kind of adds to the whole idea that we need more Black leaders, more Black managers, more Black directors and senior vice presidents of organizations, because they can greater relate to the culture of the people that work for them. So I think that's another, because Wrench, right? Because Wrench, just as you mentioned so many times, you come from where they come from, right? You know how to do all of the jobs.
Right.
You know what's involved. So that makes you an even better leader for those people because you come from a lot of the same, I guess, occupational upbringing. So,
Right.
I think that's another point that's very important.
Right. And not only that, just to touch on it real quick, they've seen the formula work. And a lot of people, they'll pretend to want to, or I won't even say pretend, I give them the benefit of the doubt. They will want to get into leadership until they see the work that is required to get into leadership. One of the guys that's one of the most impressive guys that I have on my team, 41-year-old white guy, did 10 years in the penitentiary, was the laughing stock because he wet down a electrical panel and down the complete production line. He was the laughing stock of the line. But this guy was passionate. He was a know-it-all in the sense, and I figured out how to harness that. And this guy will probably be a supervisor within the next 2 to 3 years. This is the same guy I was talking about has been promoted every year. He's the same guy who would come in, in this kind of ran down Dickie suit, but you see him now. He has a polo shirt that's buttoned up. He's shaved up nice because he's been getting these raises over the last couple of years. And not only that, I've went to bat so much that I timed his raises to where he gets 2 in 1 year. Automatically, he gets his fiscal increase, and then he's had his off-cycle promotion. So people see that, this guy has a formula. I just have to make the decision on whether or not I'm going to put in that body of work, because they've seen this guy work on other lines, other shifts, come in on weekends, come in on Sundays, during big projects. I give him the template, a template, and I tell him, hey, all you got to do is change the pictures and put in a description, send it out to leadership, even copy my boss in it. And he sends that out, and they're like, man, how do we mimic that across the plant? And so what you get is directors kind of, it's almost like the draft. They're kind of like, hey, man, have you thought about, coming down to the can side? Or, hey, man, we got a position open down here in Louisville, Kentucky, man. What do you think about being an ops manager? Hey, man, we got, it's, and not only that, when I first met O'Shea, in my email, I sent him a screenshot that's shared on a website. It's almost like Facebook, but it's strictly for work. It's called Workplace. And this regional VP that runs 5 plants comes in and tell a story about when he worked with me and says, hey, this guy, I remember when this guy was a maintenance mechanic when I first started. He's done this, he's done this, he's done this. He literally named out every position in my progression as I've grown. Now, this is somebody who carries a really big stick in the company, who runs plants all over the U.S. But this is somebody that I also personally know too. But he comes out and publicly vouches for me, and not only me, other people also, but he personally vouches for me. That's why it's good to have an impressive body of work, and because when you have an impressive body of work, you have allies who really have a huge say-so in your success, and it kind of makes it hard for that new director to, if that guy fired me tomorrow, trust and believe that the guy who's a regional VP would have some kind of questions, because this is a guy who texts me on Father's Day, Happy Father's Day, or texts me, hey, it looked like you're struggling on this piece of equipment. What's the plan there? So those things matter, man. Brothers, build those relationships. And to answer Brother Malcolm S.'s question, not to kind of take over the show, I just want to make sure I answer his question, but what do you do to combat the perception of being a laid-back manager? What you do is you have an impressive body of work, and if you're in the office all day, brother, you have a million emails where you've copied everybody in them so that they can see the work that you're doing. So on the surface, it may look like you are laid back, but on the back end, brother, you need to have a lot of different stuff going on, and you need to be copying them in emails, whether you are trying to get team members from a temp service, whether you are sending out new standard work documents, whether you are thinking ahead and looking at a weekend shutdown plan and making sure that your team have that kind of stuff covered. So have a lot of noise in the background with your higher ups copied in it, so that they can see that you are working.
No, great information, Brother Gabe. Had to hop down, fellas. Thanks for having me. I don't know, man. Any other information you guys want to share tonight?
Go ahead, Brother Ali.
Actually, oh shit, I'm probably about to drop down too. It's my son's bedtime, so I'm getting him dressed and all that jazz. But pretty much, I think everybody hit it. All the points that were that need to be covered tonight. And brother Wrench always hits it as always. Brother Gabe always great contribution. But thank you for having me, brothers, and hopefully we'll have a good topic tomorrow if we know what that is already. Do we know what it is tomorrow? What it is tomorrow, Shay?
We don't know, but I will not be bullshitting like I was today. I wasn't even going to try to do a stream. I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and do, because I got everybody over here right now. You know, we under lockdown, so for the struggle wood stuff, if we don't shoot it before 7, and they can't go anywhere. So that's why I haven't been so on the streams. But let me just do this real quick, brothers. I want everybody to help us subscribe to Brother Coach Ali's channel. He comes on every night. He's a father, and he's getting into the social media content creation. So I want people to support Brother Ali. He's here every night. He's here. If don't nobody else show up, he'll show up. So I want you brothers to subscribe to him. Let me know that if you have clicked the link. He has 340 subscribers. He's building that channel. Like I said, he's dedicated to helping brothers. So let me know if you guys subscribe, hit the bell. Like I said, we're trying to get our brother monetized hopefully by July. So we're trying to, help him on that. So if you guys can do that, let me know. Subscribe, hit the bell to Coach Ali's Corner channel. And Brother Wrench, thank you for the topic tonight, brother. I know that you're going to hopefully start coming and taking some of this money away from me on YouTube, brother.
Yeah, man. I think that you'll get a chance to see, brother, what kind of what I've been talking about when I say your God-given skill sets and your God-given gifts. A lot of times I talk about manufacturing, but I've been blessed beyond belief, man. And I'm not even a religious person like that, but I've been blessed beyond belief to really have a really short learning curve as it relates to technology and putting things together, even video editing. A lot of the programs I have them on desktop computers that are kind of tucked off in the closet. Being able to produce music, understanding how to hook up condenser microphones and backdrops, all this other kind of stuff from being in music when I was younger. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here, man. And like I said, brothers and sisters, I know it's a couple sisters in the chat. Make sure you take notes. And as much as we can, brother, we'll try to come and give you guys that information, and hopefully you guys take it, run with it, and share that with some other brothers.
All right, no problem. So guys, I still really appreciate it. I can't wait for Brother Wrench to show up on YouTube as an individual creator. We have some more subscribers to Coach Ali's Corner. So guys, I thank you for the haul. Tomorrow I'm gonna upload some videos on Patreon. Thank you for the new Patreon subscribers. I'll be uploading some stuff tonight. It is now 6 a.m. Another all-nighter pulled for me. So I pretty much start sometimes working like around 1 in the morning, something like that. And I work throughout the day, but I'm up. Social media content, man. It's not easy. For those people that like if you do this and this is your job or this is your, the way that you do things. So it's you got to keep the ball. It's a 24-hour thing, man. You busting your ass. So. Just so you guys know. So, but anyways, guys, thanks so much. We'll be on tomorrow. Thank you, brother, so much. I appreciate you guys, and see you guys later. Thanks everybody for being here.
All right, brother. Y'all be cool.
Peace, family.
Yeah, peace.